Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So, good morning. Welcome to another market open stream. The week is starting out and the market bell has just rung, but Bitcoin is sitting at an extreme fear level. What is going on with Bitcoin? This last weekend we had a little volatility. Let's talk about it and talk about whether or not it's time to panic. Is there ever a time to panic about Bitcoin? Well, let's discuss. All right, welcome, guys. Bitcoin right now sitting a little better than yesterday. We're at 59.6, right under $60,000, although we did have a little dip from about 62,000 all the way down to about 57.6. We are, however, starting the week in the green. Barely in the green, right? This week in the US, we do have a few big things to look forward to, okay? CPI inflation is one of the big ones. So, last week and the week before that, some of these economic data came in really underwhelming, not the best. So let's see what happens. CPI will be a big one. It's going to affect the next rate cut hugely, whether we get a 25 basis points or 50 basis points, because now it's like even. Actually, the percentage for a 25 basis point cut is now higher than a 50 basis point cut, which was not the case last week. It was almost guaranteed to have a 50 basis point cut prediction for next FOMC meeting. Now has swung backwards. So tomorrow's or Wednesday's CPI will be very telling. And tomorrow we have PPI inflation too. Both of them measure inflation, but most people go by CPI. And then we got other stuff like jobless claims, whether or not that's going to go up, meaning unemployment's going up. And we got, consumer sentiment on Friday, which of course measures just overall sentiment. Are people feeling pretty good or not so good about the future, right? So we'll see. This week, U.S. market will probably be dictated by CPI and some of these other data points, okay? But yeah, everyone's still wondering. Next month, it seems like the emergency meeting is not on the table anymore. It's not even being considered right now. But next month, are we going to get a 25 basis point cut or 50? I think most people are in agreement that we should get 50. We need to cut rates more at this point. We need to accelerate that. So we'll see. Outside of U.S., we have Bank of Japan, who did cut. No, they didn't cut. They raised their rates for the first time. And ex-official says that, they're not going to have another rate hike. But the funny thing is, this guy is ex-Bank of Japan official, so he doesn't actually know what's going on. But if Japan raises rates again by the end of this year, I think it's going to cause a lot more turmoil. The yen will get stronger. USD will get weaker against the yen. That may cause more sell-offs. And it'll really start wrecking their exports. But we will see. Now, with all this said, what is Bitcoin doing? Well, Bitcoin right now is in extreme fear. Yesterday, we were just in fear level. We were about to, basically in Saturday, beginning of Sunday, things were calming down. We were at 62,000, seemed like, or a little bit above, or 61,000. It seemed like we were dissipating. The fear was dissipating. We were going into neutral. But then, things picked up again, some selling, and now we're at extreme fear level. Okay. This is kind of like one of those like measurements, if you ask me. Just like when people say, well, death cross is looming. It's one of those measurements like the lower we go, the more the higher the chance that we're going to turn around, right? Or the closer we are to capitulation or short-term capitulation. We have seen this many, many, many times where it has dipped down to extreme fear. And in fact, right now at 25, we're as fearful as February of 2023. February 2023, that was when Bitcoin was at what, 20,000, right? So again, the fear level doesn't quite make sense. Well, it is what it is. It doesn't make sense because retail investors should not be in this extreme fear level, the same level as when Bitcoin was still hovering around 20,000. That doesn't make any sense, right? But the good thing is, whenever we do have a metric like this, the fear index, it does, like I said, it does indicate whether or not a turnaround is happening, right? Because basically it's just based on capitulation, and it basically forecasts what the retail investors are feeling and what they're doing, right? But again, I've said this before, when Bitcoin fell down to 49,000 before, and when Bitcoin fell down to 53,000 before, and all the previous times, right? It doesn't make much sense that fear is this high when we are at the level we are versus in 2022, 2023, when everything was collapsing. It was the bottom of crypto winter. Bitcoin was hovering around 15, 16, under $20,000. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering that since then till now, which is only like 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago, Bitcoin is up like 300% since then, right? Take a second and think about that. How does that make sense? Anyways, so yeah, that's where we are right now. So is it time to panic? Well, of course, if you ask me, my opinion is no. You should not be panicking considering what I just said. We're up like 300% since our bottom, and that was only a year and a half ago. And even though we're not at 60,000 right now, but we're pretty close, but still, why would you be panicking when everything is still according to plan? Why Bitcoin is poised to break 74,000 by the end of this year? I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. We could break 74K by the end of this week. Bitcoin, we know, moves very, very fast. Very fast indeed. Just a little bit of money pushes it upwards. Then we get short squeezes. Let's go push it up even more, right? So are we breaking 74,000? Are we going to break into new high territory by the end of this year? Yes. I still maintain that Bitcoin will break into six-figure territory by the end of this year, which means Bitcoin by December will be above, and sometime in December, be above $100,000. I still wholeheartedly think that is 100% coming. It does not matter what has happened now. Like I said, Bitcoin moves really, really quickly. We can jump 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 in no time. We have seen it before. Within a single month, we have seen tremendous gains. Right? And right now, we're in one of those boring periods, extreme fear periods, even though we should not be in extreme fear. But just wait until September comes when the rate cuts start happening. In November, elections. And in December, Santa rally. We got a lot of time before the end of the year. And of course, before then, it's the best time to be loading up, right? Before we get six-figure Bitcoin. That's why a lot of people are, and a lot of companies are, and a lot of institutions are. Marathon is raising $250 million more to buy Bitcoin. Okay, that's $250 million. And they bought $100 million in July, and currently holding 20,000 Bitcoin. Right? Kind of makes sense that, one of the biggest miners start accumulating more Bitcoin, right? But still, that's enormous amount of money. That's not chump change. They're raising $250 million to buy more Bitcoin, and they bought 9 figures worth, right? I think that's 9. Yeah, nine figures worth of Bitcoin in July alone, right? Because they know Bitcoin strategy works, just like as worked for Microstrategy, which is why so many public trade companies are now doing the same thing. This is staggering, okay? You look at MicroStrategy up nearly 1,000% since when they implemented the Bitcoin strategy versus the Magnificent Seven, which includes the likes of Nvidia and Facebook and Apple and Microsoft, right? Even though they have done very, very well in the last 4 years, MicroStrategy has outperformed them 5x. And even though gold has done really well, gold is up 20% since 2020. 20% to 1,000% just does not compare. And I don't know why the Bitcoin percentage left out, but I know that MicroStrategy has outperformed even Bitcoin. So obviously the Bitcoin strategy is working and Wall Street loves it. That's why so many people are embracing Bitcoin, right? Because it just makes sense. And look at a country like El Salvador, who continues to add 1 Bitcoin per day, according to Bukele. That's not going to change. But, man, they have $333 million worth of Bitcoin. And because of their Bitcoin ambitions, now they plan on building a Bitcoin city. A Bitcoin city. That looks crazy. Okay. A 1.6 billion private investment to build a Bitcoin city, right? So Bitcoin changes lives. Bitcoin now is changing countries too. So that's amazing. If that gets built, that will be absolutely amazing. Especially if you look at a satellite image of this, how cool would that be? Anyways, moving on. What are other bullish things about Bitcoin and why you should not be panicking? Well, exchange reserves. Let me remove my camera here. Is the lowest level now since 2018. Do you see that sharp drop? Right? That's when we actually fell down recently. We're starting to see the exchange reserves drop down at an alarming rate. Okay, which is a good thing. Which is actually a really, really good thing. We want to see this number get lower and lower and lower and lower. And eventually, there will only be, right now there's still like 2.78 million according to this. But eventually, another 4 years or 8 years or 12 years, that number is going to go dwindle down to maybe 1 million, maybe less than 1 million. And when that time comes, that's when Bitcoin will be much more expensive to acquire, right? That's how it works, supply and demand. And demand keeps going up and the supply keeps dropping. And there's not that many Bitcoin being released now per day. What, 450 per day now after our last halving event? Just think about it, 450 per day to go across the world. Miners are holding most of that. The big fintech companies are probably, or I should say the ETFs are buying the remaining amount. There's just not that many places to get Bitcoin. Oops. There we go. Right? This is one of those metrics that show the growing fundamentals of Bitcoin reserve and keeps dropping. Now, as for some charts, you guys love charts. Here's a short-term one. Actually, it's not really short-term because it goes all the way back to 2022. Somewhat a midterm, I guess, chart that's showing that we're in a giant cup and handle, right? It does look like it. And the midterm, I guess, of where this is going, midterm prediction is $125,000, right? But like I said, I think 6 figures by the end of this year. So if this is predicting that we will cross into 6-figure territory by 2025, right? I think that's pretty darn accurate. Doesn't have to be on the dot. Doesn't mean that it has to be exactly January 1st. But first quarter of this year at 25,000, I think that's definitely coming, right? I really think that Bitcoin is going to blow people away next year. They're not even going to remember what happened this year because of how explosiveness next year is, right? And here, lastly, I'll just show you guys this. Post-halving performance. Some crazy numbers, right? But just realize that these like crazy runs, the parabolic phase, does not start until about October, November timeframe. If you go back and you look at it after the halving event, it always takes months before we start moving. So even though this cycle, we prematurely broke into new high territory before the halving event, we're really early, right? We're ready ahead of the game. But right now we're going through that boring period. And some people are saying, well, we're never going to go higher. We're already peaked out. You know, we topped out, blah, blah, blah. A lot of the naysayers just will never change their mind about Bitcoin, right? Because they're just probably feeling miserable because they don't have any or have enough, right? But yeah, that phase is coming. I think it's going to come right after the rate cut, right around September, October timeframe. That's when we really start moving once again. And once we do, the percentage gain of this cycle, who knows, right? 10,000%, 4,000%, 700%. This time, I don't know, maybe 500%, 400%. I don't think anyone would complain. We got a 400% gain, right? And this is starting at like what? I don't know where this is actually measuring. I guess where we are now, right? Like 60,000. We got a 400% gain. That's pretty darn good. That's like $240,000, right? Or $300,000. So even if it's like a 300% gain, 350, let's just say half of the last cycle, that would still be quite tremendous. And if Bitcoin is going to have, let's say, a 300% gain, what about everything else, right? What about your favorite alts? Are they going to do a 300%? Well, yeah, if Bitcoin does a 300%, they're going to do 300% and possibly more. A lot of them do a lot more. And speaking of alts, this is actually using the Mayer multiple to measure, I guess, like bottoms for alts. And again, we're hitting that trend line right now with the alts, right? Same thing as back in 2023 when alts were really, really struggling. And same thing back in 2020 after that COVID crash. So will alts come back? Yes. Will they get stronger? Yes. Are we in altcoin season? No. No, we're not going to see altcoin season until 2025. That's when it gets really crazy. For now, Bitcoin is and will lead the way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Outside of that, what else is there? Ethereum whales are still loading up on ETH, but this trader is claiming that ETH needs to reclaim 2.7K before the next leg up. You know, I don't know about that. Right now, ETH, you know, as long as Grayscale stops dumping, as long as jump trading stops dumping, and Bitcoin picks up again, ETH will be just fine. But there are still a lot of ETH whales out there that will not give up on ETH. And that's good. And the same thing with XRP, guys. XRP options are super, super bullish. Okay, traders have locked in $2 million in XRP's 110 call option, the highest across all available maturities. 110 for XRP, man, XRP Army would love $1.10. Right now, it's still below 60 cents. It seems to have trouble staying above 60 cents right now. But once XRP starts breaking above, if it does, which I think it will, if it can hold above 60 cents and start building upon like 65, 75 cents, which we have not seen in a very, very, very long time. But if it could break out of that trend line, then sure, $1.10 could be right around the corner, right? We'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Let's see, is the U.S. market, oh boy, the U.S. market is turning red. That's no good. We were starting out in green. It's red. Maybe people are fearful about CPI and what may come from it. Microstrategy and Coinbase are both in the red, -3%. Nvidia's up today. Rivian, I don't know why I searched for Rivian. Rivian's down 3%. Tesla's down 1%. So things are turning a little red this morning. All right, let's do some Q&A. All right, for those people that say I have extreme fear, like the fear index. So we're at 25 right now, okay? So let's stretch out here. Last time, let's go back a little bit. So 25, we have seen, we haven't seen 25 there, 43. Last time we seen 25 was around here. December 2022, January 2023. Let's look at a historical snapshot of around that time. All right. So 2022, December 2022. Let's just do Christmas. Christmas of 2022. Right. Bitcoin was at 16,800. Ethereum was at 12,000. XRP was at 34 cents. Where's Solana? Solana's at $11. That was when Solana was getting sold hard because of FTX. Cardano at 26 cents. So, you compare that to where we are now, and we're in the same greed level. Bitcoin is triple. Ethereum is about double. Even Cardano is 50% higher. XRP is 50% higher. And everything else was way lower back then, right? So again, how could the fear level of right now be the same as these levels back in December 2022, right? So that's what I'm saying. It just seems like people forget how bad things were before. People forget the progress and the strides we have made within just a year and a half. Right? People forget about the bad times. They only look at the short term, movement, right? The volatility from just a week or 2 weeks ago. But if you stretch your mind out and go back 1 year, 1.5 years ago, you'll remember how bad things really were. Anyways. Yeah, so is it time to panic? No, I don't think it's ever time to panic. Maybe panic buy, not panic sell. Jay Gann asks, question, George, would you rather see Bitcoin 100K or USD collapse or default? You don't want the second. A lot of Bitcoiners will say that, right? And eventually USD will collapse or the country will default. But it's best that you don't live through that time. Like, I honestly think if the US dollar collapses, the country collapses, it's not going to be a good place to be at. Bitcoin 100K is going to come by the end of this year, and that's much sooner. And I'd much rather see that than live through, the country going bankrupt. Rusty Bot, George, is the fire running is the fire running rampage in the nuclear power plant bullish for my alts? I have no idea what you're saying. Is that supposed to refer to something that's going on right now? Tobias says, like Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. That is correct. What is your the one who cares asks, what is your favorite stablecoin to store cash? At this point, it doesn't really matter. It has to be USDT. It's just more widely used by everyone. How did you like coming to Nashville? It's okay. The city was okay. Nothing crazy. I did like the Smoky Mountains. I like that better. Um, but the city itself, I mean, it is what it is. People say that's the Vegas of the Midwest. It's certainly no Vegas, but if you like, country music, you like, the bar scene, it's, it's good. It's good place to be or visit. The nuclear fire in Russia? Oh, there's a nuclear fire in Russia. I have no idea. Could you look at Nifty 5 new project bucking the trend in the market? Is it a good AI play? Is it Nifty Infinity? It doesn't even show up on here. Sorry. It doesn't even show up. Kenny says you didn't go in any punk clubs. The club life is not really for me anymore. I'm way beyond that. Too old for that is what I meant. Extreme fear, buy more. Yes. I don't know why a lot of people in the chat are arguing about the fear index. This is the one that has been used since the beginning of time. So I don't know if anyone else is using some other index. Yes, this is the index at 25, not 50. So I don't know why people are disputing it. There's also, this is just for crypto. They also have a fear and greed index for stocks, and it was in extreme fear too. Let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah, I can't find it. Not the official one. I don't know. Anyways, that's irrelevant. Jeremy, can you check Mad Token? 30 Degen liked it. You. I have no idea what Mad Token is. I'll just say I don't like the name right off the bat. Chit chat. Do you think memes like Whiff are losing steam, or it's goodbye right now, or should we start looking past the top 100? I don't think Whiff is losing that much steam. Let's see. It's still 1.7 billion. Let's see all time. I mean, it still looks decent. It's definitely not trending higher right now at this stage, but then again, no alt is since March, right? I think it's still fine. I mean, in terms of upside, of course, if you go in the meme with a lower market cap, you're gonna have a higher upside because this is already at 1.7 billion. But Whiff can go a lot higher. A lot of the smaller memes, you just don't know. It's like a total casino, total crapshoot. You just don't know which ones are going to be the next billion plus memes, right? There's so many people that are gem hunting memes, and many of them just lose momentum, right? So, I don't know. Harvey, why has GPU mineable alts never really popped off? I mean, ETH did, didn't it? ETH was GPU mineable until they flipped. So, I don't know if that's really a thing. Man, we just totally reversed course. The market flipping down, with the US market turning red, kind of totally flipped course. We were at 59, almost 60,000. We're now down to 58.1. Kind of sucks. Gus Chumont, good morning, George. I DC it once a week, but starting to question it due to recent price swings. Curious on what you think is the best day during the week to DC. There's no right or wrong answer. No matter what day you choose, you will find scenarios where it's not optimal. There is no perfect day or perfect week. Just stay the course. And if you think that, let's say you don't have enough money or you're fearful, but stay the course. That's all I can say, because this Wednesday I'll show. I think last week I missed my DCA portfolio. Was it last week I missed it? But this week I'll show it again. I mean, DCA long term works. It's really that simple. But if you're running out of money, maybe decrease your DCA, or you could stop for a week or two. But DCA long term has never failed. Microstrategy has proved that. El Salvador has proved that. My weekly DCA portfolio has proved that. Do you expect a rally before or after elections? I think we're going to start trending upwards beforehand. And then afterwards, that's when things really start moving, right? I'll bring this up again for you guys to show you guys what's happened before. If I can get this working again. Okay, so yellow lines are the halving events. So you zoom in here. Last halving we had, you could see that Bitcoin pretty much went sideways for a long time. May 11th, 2020. After that, look at it. June, July, August August, we went a little bit above, and then we came right back down. So that was September. So you could argue from May to September, basically, no movement. October, that's when we start moving, right? So that was right before the elections, leading up to November and the elections, and that's when we kept going. So we didn't move until October. So that's normally how it is. And if you look at this, right here, it's a little wonky, but more or less the same. You get this one was a little bit sooner, but July, you could see all the way. Like basically, it's hard to see because we started going up so much, but you can see this one is even worse. We didn't really start moving. Ooh, you gotta like really zoom in there. You gotta really zoom in. Let's see if I can really zoom in here. Right. So this halving event, afterwards we actually crashed. Then we recovered. Then around again October timeframe, you could argue around here, right? That's when we started going, and we broke in a new high by the beginning of the new year, and then we kept going, right? So if you look at halving events, they normally don't trigger a price pump. It's usually months afterwards, around that September, October timeframe, is when Bitcoin starts moving, right? It goes in that parabolic stage. That's why I don't think it's any different this time around. Just go by history. That's how it's always been. Adrian, render or injective? Ooh, that's really tough. I really like both. So I really do like both. I would split them between the two. What is your price prediction for Sui this cycle? Has been pumping lately. I mean, Sui is promising. I even went to their Sui base camp. They have a lot of developers, a lot of gaming developers. I think it's interesting, but I'm hesitant about is their token unlocks, um, which unlocks a lot of the supply, over the next few years. So that may hold them down versus their peers. But maybe it doesn't. The bull market, when things are going up and people are FOMOing, a lot of times it makes up for that. Don't know. Are you bullish on game tokens this cycle? Beam and Gala. Beam way more than Gala. I'm not so sure Gala is going to do well this cycle. It's still holding relatively well, but between the lawsuits of the founders, Coinbase not supporting them, and I think their token economics isn't the greatest either. So I'm more bullish on some of the chains like Beam. Do you see Loop Ring going back to $1? Man, I have not had anyone ask me about Loop Ring in like years. Probably not. My answer is probably not because I just don't know what they're doing these days. What is your ETH price prediction this cycle? Well, I was pretty wrong last cycle. I thought it would go much higher. So I think this cycle, I'm gonna be more conservative. Um, seeing how ETH, let's zoom out here. What's the highest ETH's been? That was 85, 81% drop. The highest ETH has been, let's just say 5,000, right? Can they get back to 5,000? Of course, because they were pretty close already earlier this year. Can they go to 5,000? Yes. Can they double from that to $10,000? I think so. Can they go more than $10,000? I think there's a good chance, depending on how high Bitcoin goes. If Bitcoin goes to like 250,000, then ETH is going to go a lot higher. ETH will probably end up being like 15,000 this cycle. But if Bitcoin tops out more conservatively, like 175, 150, that's being very conservative, then I don't think ETH is going to go that high. But I think ETH will, at very least, in this cycle, probably get up to 10,000, which is still a 4x from here. Please check very important interview with Saifuddin Amos. I have no idea who that is. Well, market's turning around. Yeah, things are looking pretty good today. Nvidia's having a good day. Tech is coming back up. Stop loss hunters have been brutal lately. Yes. Yes, I've noticed that too. Leverage traders, like, that's the problem with stop losses. I mean, it's good and it's bad. So it prevents catastrophic liquidations. But man, if you're setting the stop losses, they keep getting triggered and it's slowly just draining out your money too. Do you think Rockstar will create a digital currency for GTA 6, or do you think they'll use another coin? I don't know. I don't even know why GTA 6 is taking so long. Everyone keeps talking about how long it's taking. I don't know if they're going to integrate any digital currency in there. It would be fantastic if they did, but I'm not so sure they are. That'll just complicate things for them. My bags have been packed for the moon all season. You're gonna have to wait at least another like year for that. Well, look at that. George effect is kicking in right now. That's a mini V-shaped recovery right there. Do you see compound hitting 1,000 in 2025? Compound. $1,000 in 2025? Whew. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it was at 900 or close to 900. I'm going to say no this time around because there's way, 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 way more DeFi projects now than before. And you could see it really hasn't come anywhere close to even like, you know, hitting some of these previous highs. So I'm going to say no. Thoughts on ZKEVM and Chronos? I just don't know too much about Chronos. Everything I heard before wasn't so good. I think, again, I like to separate Crypto.com from Chronos. Crypto.com seems like a legit exchange. They have their branding everywhere. They have their cards and people use them and they're doing really good. But like as for the chain itself, I don't hear them talking about the chain and you know, I don't know what's going on in the chain. So I like to separate the two. Stacking provides sats as yield, huge project. Oh yeah. Stacks is so volatile though. It's so volatile. When Bitcoin goes up, it skyrockets, and Bitcoin goes down, it dumps horribly. But stacks, yes, you can stake stacks and earn Bitcoin. It's very unique. Erman says, I think at least 10x all top 200 within the next 8 months. No, not everything in the top 200. Not even everything 100 will do that. In the next 8 months, 10x, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. Maybe a little too soon. I'd say within the next 12 months, right? 8 months, maybe too soon. But you know what? If I'm wrong on that, that'll be great. All right, guys. So, anyways, to conclude, we're starting out the day a little rocky. Went down. Now we're back up, right? Overall, my point is this. The fear level is in the extreme fear territory. Same level as when Bitcoin was at 16K, Ethereum was at 1,200, and XRP was at 35 cents, and BNB was at $243, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, stay strong, my friends. Continue to hold on DCA and let the gains come to you. All right, I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, have a good one. Take care.